Hey kids, today I want to have a bit of a chat and discussion about one of the biggest recent ongoings that has been taking place in hip-hop as of recent. Namely, this very public controversy that has been going down between two of the most popular artists on the planet, those being Meg Thee Stallion and Tory Lanez. Now, it's been stated that by Christmas, which is only a few weeks away at this point, we will get some sort of resolution or answer to all of our questions. And obviously, I think I speak for a lot of us when I say that at this point, I'm not even so much invested that I'm like itching to see the verdict. I more so just want to get an answer so we can get to a point where we can put everything and all of this behind us. And I know for a fact that both of the artists involved, although I'm sure they want things to go their way probably, they feel the same way. If you think back to it as well, if you put yourself into the frame of yourself from 2 years ago, both of these artists were arguably at the peaks of their careers. And I'd argue that Tory Lanez was actually edging on becoming a genuine upper echelon artist at this point, but for both of them, I think that this whole incident has negatively tainted both of their perception. Both of them in terms of how they're viewed and perceived has just negatively taken a hit from either side's fan base. I think if we're looking at the entire situation and who the bigger winner is, I would say Meg is technically winning at this point, but I think Tory Lanez has maintained a quality of music that he was able to conjure a very solid core fan base. But I think this whole thing, without a doubt, turned off a huge portion of Tory's female listener base that would rather take Meg Thee Stallion's side. For Meg, it really seems as though she has kind of musically stagnated though, sadly. After she was like being paraded as essentially the next Cardi B or Nicki Minaj, I think there's actually like a lot more female artists who are more capable and can scratch that same itch sonically and more consistently, like a Lotto or a Glorilla, in my opinion. So it's kind of a shame because I think that for Meg, especially, this whole situation has kind of been like maintaining her relevancy. Not that it's maintaining her relevancy solely, but anytime we've heard about Meg in the last 2 years, it's been about this case, and it's never anything positive about the music side. At least that's in my perspective. Like she did have some things going on with her label, and I'm sure that everything that's going on legally is taking up a lot of her time, but that's just what I've seen. And you got to keep in mind that this is all off the back of winning a Grammy, in her first years of being an artist. That's pretty respectable, but we're not gonna just sit here and lie like we don't know that all of these award shows are rigged by the industry. It's really all just who has the stronger industry connections and who's down to play the game more and more at the end of the day. And it's actually very rare that you really see someone who deserves to win one of these award shows get what they deserve. Okay, like one year Meg actually won a Grammy for Best New Artist, and I think in hindsight that's such a bad judgment call, especially if you consider the fact that she was up against Doja Cat, who at this point I think has proven herself to be like one of the most versatile and multi-generational artists that we have at this point. She's essentially the full package, whereas Meg has a very specific sound, a very specific demographic. I'm still salty about that one, but anyways, with all of this being a hot button topic, it's to the point where everyone has essentially felt like they had to choose a side on the issue, especially if they are in the industry. It seems as though it's very much more socially acceptable to be on Meg's side about this whole thing, where we have artists like Drake, DaBaby, inadvertently, I guess, supporting Tory Lanez through the music side, or at least publicly stating in a way that they don't believe Meg Thee Stallion's account of events, which we will get into a bit later in this video. I know, just hold on. If you speak in terms of optics, Tory Lanez definitely takes the L when you look at the situation, because from what we know about Tory Lanez, just as a casual observer, casual onlooker, right, from what you can gaze, Tory Lanez has been in a number of violent situations with other high profile people. Like, violence is almost synonymous with his name at this point. I can name several people Tory Lanez has reportedly, like, allegedly beat up. You feel me? But I'm gonna skip out on that part. But okay, whatever. Long story short, right, there's a group of people that think Tory actually has a solid case going for him, and they also think that Meg could be embellishing some aspects of her story, which I kind of agree with, because, and at least in my opinion, I just think Meg's retelling of the events that happened, she kind of may have omitted certain things that could put her in a negative light. Not necessarily that the outcome of what she's saying didn't happen, but more so it seems like in her telling of events, she might be leaving some things out, because it just seems too clean on her end, Like, it's always weird whenever someone tells a story and they never can admit what fault they were at. In her telling of events, she's the victim of everything, and she's also the most altruist and admirable person in the situation, which is not a problem. Most people tend to do this when they are telling events that happen to them in the first person, but it just means that from her end, at least, we don't have an accurate narrator. Like, the events could actually even be worse than we thought, and she might be just sugarcoating it. I think both of these artists' media teams are on full force effect at this point, because there's so much misinformation out there about each side just demonizing each other. Okay, so essentially at this point, Tory's defense is that he never was the one that pulled the weapon, and it was actually Megan's ex-best friend Kelsey, who was really like the Yu-Gi-Oh fucking trap card of all of this. Apparently, her and Meg went sour, and she won't be testifying in court, and we will never be able to get her first-hand accounts of everything. Each side is going to try to use Kelsey to fit their narrative because she's not there, and Tory's going to say that she is actually the one that pulled the trigger because she was mad at Meg for sleeping with Tory after she had slept with Kelsey. And if we're going to believe this telling of events, then that makes Meg a very dubious actor. That essentially makes her a liar, because she would go on public television and explicitly say that she and Tory were not involved romantically.
What was the nature of your relationship with Tory Lanez? Because he has led people to believe that it was a sexual relationship, that it was that you two were dating. What was the nature?
We were not dating. We were really close. We were friends. We hung out like every day. And his mom passed too. So when I felt like we were bonding over that, like sexual.
Yeah. Did you, Megan? Did you have a sexual relationship with Tory Lanez? Yes, that's my question.
I didn't have a sexual relationship with Tory.
But this is the version of events that Tory Lanez and his camp are gonna go with. They're gonna really try to make Meg Thee Stallion look like a unreliable narrator for all of the events that happened, because they're gonna say if she can lie about something as small as them having relationships, then what else is she lying about? I will reserve judgment for this narrative because it puts a nice little bow on everything, but I think it's just too convenient for Tory, to just sum it up as like, yo, I was fucking and these hoes just be crazy at the end of the day. And I will forever say this, bro. Tory Lanez probably has the worst fucking PR team ever. Like they don't say shit about the specifics. They just deny everything. All of the public perception kind of knows the opposite. Like, everybody saw Tory Lanez beat up August Alsina and then tweet about it afterwards. But if we ask the cop, no, we didn't see shit. We didn't see shit. Then on the other corner, we have Meg, who I think has a pretty actually good case on her hands, just in terms of like public opinion and the public perception. Like, most people already think that Tory fucking did the shit, right? And the way he's tweeting, it's not making him look good. And at this point, it's on him to prove that he actually did not do the shit. But that's hard to do because, as I said earlier, Tory Lanez has actually like a pretty bad rap sheet in terms of like committing violent acts against other people. So it's gonna be very easy for Meg and her team to play off that perception, whether it's true or not. Some serious allegations being chucked from Meg's side here, on top of some already like criminal allegations that Tory's getting. I think some charges were put on top of the charges he already had, like the gun possession. Tory is actually at risk of being like exported here. Meg's prosecutors allege that Tory Lanez punched Kelsey and brought her to the ground by her hair after having shot Meg already at this point, and then yelled at both of them to get back in the car. So yeah, if we are to believe Meg's side of events that happened here, then Tory Lanez is a fucking psychopath, bro. Like, there ain't no real in-betweens here, which I think is very indicative of the general like sentiment and like polarizing nature of this entire case. Everybody thinks that their side is right, and we don't have any of the facts yet. But I know once all of the smoke has settled and a verdict is declared, there's gonna be so much fucking smoke between the people that were caping for either side that lost. And I actually think it's gonna have this like doubling down effect on whichever artist or group of people end up losing the case, just socially. There's like a human phenomenon where no one really wants to be wrong, so unless there's some like dire, like cut and dry evidence, I think it is very unlikely that very negative outcome will legitimately come and like end any of these artists' careers, except I guess Tory, because he could go to fucking prison or jail maybe. But like in totality, he's gonna have a lot more people that go to bat for him and think that like, you know, some sort of injustice was done to him if he loses. And the same thing with Meg. But yeah, that's where we are with this whole thing at this point. It's kind of become a ideology, and I think even some cold hard facts aren't going to be able to shake people from that like foundation of like your side is wrong and my side is right. So yeah, I think I'm ready for the truth at this point, you know, or at least as close as we're allowed to get to the truth. But I'm not gonna lie, I am a tad bit excited because, you know, we're gonna potentially see which one of these artists is the big fat liar. We're gonna finally get to see which one of these artists wasted everybody's time in the end, and then us as the general public are gonna finally be able to do as we're known to do and forget about this whole thing in like 6 months. Anyways, gang, let's get down in the comments and let me know where you stand on everything. Are you rocking with Tory Lanez, or are you rocking with Meg Thee Stallion, and why? Don't forget to hit those subscribe and like buttons respectively, as to not miss any more goated content here on the channel. And anyways, I'll see you guys on the next one.